The knock came at 10:47 p.m., three sharp raps that cut through the hum of the dishwasher. Noah Bennett froze, soapy plate in hand, because nobody just showed up at his apartment unannounced. Not on a Saturday, not ever. When he opened the door, his boss stood there in a black evening dress, mascara smudged, eyes red, and everything he'd spent 2 years carefully ignoring came crashing into the narrow hallway between them. Victoria Hale didn't do vulnerability. She didn't do messy, but here she was, looking like someone who just walked away from a wreck, and the only word that came out of her mouth was his name. Noah. If you want to see how a single moment can rewrite everything you thought you knew about yourself, stick around. Drop a like and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Noah Bennett had never been good at lying to himself. It was a character flaw, really, the kind that kept him up at night, staring at water stains on the ceiling, cataloging all the things he should have said differently. At 32, he'd accepted that peace of mind wasn't something he was wired for. Some people slept like the dead. Noah slept like someone waiting for the other shoe to drop. Tonight was supposed to be simple. Mia was at his sister's place for the weekend, which meant he had 48 blissful hours of no bedtime negotiations, no impromptu science experiments involving his good towels, and no 6 a.m. wake-up calls from a 7-year-old who treated Saturday mornings like a competitive sport. He'd planned to do absolutely nothing. Maybe watch something brainless on TV. Maybe finally fix that cabinet hinge that had been hanging on by spite and a single screw for the last 3 months. Instead, he was elbow-deep in dish soap, scrubbing marinara sauce off a pot he should have soaked hours ago when the knock came. 3 raps. Firm. Deliberate. Noah glanced at the microwave clock. 10:47 p.m. His mind went through the list, not the neighbors, because Mrs. Alvarez next door was 83 and in bed by 8. Not his sister, because she would have texted first. Not a delivery, because he hadn't ordered anything. That left exactly 2 options. Either someone had the wrong apartment, or something was wrong. He dried his hands on a dish towel and crossed the small living room in 6 steps. The apartment wasn't much. Studio adjacent, if he was being generous. 1 bedroom for Mia, a pull-out couch for himself, a kitchen the size of a closet. But it was clean. It was theirs. And it didn't come with a landlord who asked questions about why a single dad was raising a kid on his own. He checked the peephole, and his entire chest locked up. Victoria Hale stood in the hallway, one hand braced against the doorframe like she wasn't sure her legs would hold. She wore a black dress, the kind that probably cost more than his rent, but it was wrinkled. Her hair, usually pulled back in a neat twist, was loose, falling in dark waves around her face. And her eyes, the same sharp brown eyes that had spent 2 years looking at him across conference tables and through office glass, were red-rimmed and unfocused. She'd been crying. Noah's hand hovered over the deadbolt. This wasn't right. Victoria didn't cry. Victoria didn't show up at employees' apartments at 10:47 on a Saturday night, looking like someone had taken a sledgehammer to her composure. Victoria was the woman who'd once fired a district manager in the middle of a quarterly review without raising her voice. She was controlled, precise, untouchable, and she was standing outside his door. He opened it. Noah. Her voice cracked on his name, and she immediately looked away, like she couldn't believe she'd said it out loud. Ms. Hale, don't. She held up a hand. Don't do that. Do what? Call me that. Not... She pressed her fingers against her temple. Not right now. He didn't know what to say, didn't know what this was, so he stepped aside. Do you want to come in? She hesitated. For a woman who made decisions that affected thousands of people without blinking, she hesitated. Then she stepped inside, and Noah closed the door behind her, feeling like he'd just made a choice he couldn't take back. The apartment felt smaller with her in it. She stood in the center of his living room, arms wrapped around herself, looking at the mismatched furniture and the toy bin in the corner like she'd stumbled into someone else's life. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I shouldn't have come here. It's fine. It's not fine. It's... She turned to face him, and the expression on her face was something he'd never seen before. Lost. Completely, utterly lost. I didn't know where else to go. Noah's throat tightened. Are you okay? She laughed. but it came out sharp and bitter. No, no, I don't think I am. He wanted to ask what happened, wanted to know who or what had put that look in her eyes. But he also knew that whatever this was, it wasn't something you rushed. So he gestured toward the couch. Sit. I'll make coffee. You don't have to, sit. She sat. Noah moved into the kitchen, grateful for something to do with his hands. He filled the kettle, measured out grounds, and focused very hard on not thinking about the fact that his boss, the woman he'd spent 2 years trying not to think about, was sitting on his couch in a wrinkled evening dress, looking like her entire world had just come apart. Because here was the thing Noah had never told anyone. He'd been half in love with Victoria Hale since the day she'd promoted him to regional coordinator. It was the kind of feeling he'd gotten good at ignoring, the kind that lived in the gap between what you wanted and what you were allowed to have. She was his supervisor. She was older, not by much, maybe 5 or 6 years, but enough that the office gossip would have a field day. And she was Victoria Hale, the woman who wore power like a second skin, who could walk into a room and make grown men stumble over their presentations. And he was Noah Bennett, the single dad who ate lunch at his desk and left exactly at 5 because daycare didn't care about quarterly reports. So he'd buried it, kept his head down, did his job, and convinced himself that the way she looked at him sometimes, like she was trying to figure out a puzzle she didn't have all the pieces to, didn't mean anything. The kettle whistled. He poured 2 cups, added cream to hers because he'd noticed she always took it that way in meetings, and carried them back to the living room. She took the mug without looking at him. You remembered. What? How I take my coffee. Noah sat down in the armchair across from her because sitting next to her felt like it would break something. Yeah, I guess I did. She wrapped both hands around the mug, staring into it like it held answers. For a long moment, neither of them said anything. The dishwasher hummed in the background. A car passed on the street below. Then Victoria spoke. I went on a date tonight. Noah's stomach dropped. Oh. A friend set it up. She's been trying for months. Said I work too much. That I need to get out more. She took a sip of coffee, grimaced. So I went. He didn't want to hear this. Didn't want to know about some guy who'd taken her to dinner, who'd made her laugh, He spent the entire evening talking about himself, Victoria continued, her voice flat. His car, his portfolio, his ex-wife's inadequacies. And then, when the check came, he looked at me and said, You know, you're pretty impressive for someone your age. Noah's jaw tightened. He said that? For someone my age. She laughed again, that same bitter sound. Like I should be grateful. Like turning 38 is some kind of expiration date. And the worst part? She finally looked up, and her eyes were blazing. I sat there and smiled. I thanked him for dinner. I let him walk me to my car and tell me he'd call, even though we both knew he wouldn't. Because that's what you do, right? You play the game. You pretend it doesn't bother you. Noah set his mug down carefully. You don't have to pretend. I've been pretending for 2 years, Noah. The air between them changed. What are you talking about? He asked, even though part of him already knew. Victoria set her mug on the coffee table and leaned back, closing her eyes. Do you know what it's like to sit across from someone who doesn't see you, who looks at you and sees a position or a paycheck or a thing to acquire? Yeah, Noah said quietly. I do. She opened her eyes. You do? He thought about Mia's mother. About the woman who'd left when their daughter was 6 months old because being a mom didn't fit her vision of herself, who'd signed away custody without a fight and sent a birthday card once a year like that counted for something. Yeah, he said again. Victoria studied him for a long moment. Then she leaned forward, elbows on her knees, and said the thing that changed everything. I spend all day making decisions, big ones. I've restructured entire divisions. I've let people go. I've built strategies that affect thousands of jobs, and I'm good at it. I don't apologize for being good at it. You shouldn't. But then I come home and it's just, she gestured around the empty air. Nothing, no one. And every guy I meet either wants to fix me or compete with me or put me on a shelf like some kind of trophy. And I'm tired, Noah. I'm so tired of people who don't know the first thing about who I actually am. So why did you come here? The question came out rougher than he meant it to. Victoria met his eyes. held them. Because you do. Noah's heart slammed against his ribs. You see me, she continued, her voice steady now. Not the title, not the salary, not the age or the expectations, just me. And I don't know when that happened or how, but it did. And tonight, sitting across from that man who couldn't be bothered to ask me a single real question, all I could think about was you. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Victoria, son, I'm not asking for anything, she said quickly. I know this is inappropriate. I know you probably think I've lost my mind showing up here like this, but I needed you to know. I needed to say it out loud before I talked myself out of it again. Noah stood up, not because he was leaving, because sitting felt impossible. You think I don't know? He said. She blinked. What? You think I don't know what it's like to see someone every day and pretend I don't? He ran a hand through his hair, pacing to the window and back. You think I haven't spent the last 2 years trying not to notice the way you drink your coffee, or the way you tap your pen when you're thinking, or the fact that you always take the stairs instead of the elevator because you like the quiet? Victoria stood up too, slowly. Noah, I know exactly who you are, he said, his voice low. I know you stay late on Thursdays because that's when you review budgets and you don't want anyone bothering you. I know you rewrite emails 3 times before you send them because you want every word to be right. I know you pretend you don't like the cookies in the break room, but you always take one when you think no one's looking. Her breath hitched. You notice that? I notice everything about you, and it's been driving me insane. They stood there, 3 feet apart, and the silence was so heavy Noah could feel it pressing against his skin. Why didn't you say anything? Victoria whispered. Why didn't you? Because you work for me. Because it would be complicated. Because I didn't think... She stopped, swallowed hard. I didn't think you'd feel the same way. Noah almost laughed. Almost. I've been trying not to feel this way since the day you promoted me. Do you know how hard that is? Sitting in meetings, listening to you talk, and forcing myself to focus on spreadsheets instead of the way your voice sounds when you're excited about something. Noah, and then you show up here, looking like... He gestured helplessly at her. Like this. And you tell me you see me and I'm supposed to just... What? Pretend I don't want to... He cut himself off, took a step back. Victoria's eyes were wide, her chest rising and falling too fast. Want to what? This is a bad idea, Noah said. I know. You're my boss. I know. People will talk. I don't care. She closed the distance between them, and Noah's entire body went rigid. I don't care about the gossip, or the optics, or any of it. I care about this, about you. Victoria, tell me you don't feel it, she said, her voice fierce now. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I imagined every look, every moment, every time we ended up standing too close and neither of us moved away. Tell me, and I'll leave. I'll walk out that door, and we'll never talk about this again. Noah looked at her, really looked at her. At the desperation in her eyes, the vulnerability she was offering him like a gift. And he realized something. He was done lying to himself. I can't, he said. Can't what? Tell you you're wrong. He reached up, slowly, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His hand was shaking. Because you're not. Victoria's eyes fluttered closed. Then what do we do? I don't know. We can't. There are rules, policies. If anyone found out, I know. It could ruin your career. I don't care about my career, Noah said, and realized he meant it. I care about doing the right thing, and I care about not screwing this up. Victoria opened her eyes. What if we can't not screw it up? What if there's no way to do this that doesn't end badly? Then we figure it out. He let his hand fall away, even though it killed him. But not like this. Not with you upset and me... Upset? She laughed, and this time it sounded almost real. Noah, I'm not upset. I'm terrified. Of what? Of how much I want this. She looked up at him, and her honesty was staggering. Of how much I want you. The words hung between them, impossible to take back. Noah's hands clenched at his sides. Every instinct he had was screaming at him to close the gap, to kiss her, to stop thinking about consequences and just feel something good for once in his life. But he didn't. Because Victoria deserved better than a decision made at 11 o'clock at night in a messy apartment while she was still raw from a bad date. She deserved intention, clarity, a choice made in daylight when they'd both had time to think. "Stay," he said. She froze. "What? Not?" He shook his head quickly. "Not like that. Stay. Have another coffee. We'll talk. Actually talk. And tomorrow, when your head's clear and you're not," he gestured vaguely, "we'll figure out what this is." Victoria stared at him like he'd just spoken a foreign language. "You want to talk?" "I want to do this right," Noah said, "if we're going to do it at all." For a long moment she didn't move. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Okay. Okay? Okay." She sat back down on the couch, smoothing her dress. "Let's talk." Noah sat down across from her again, and this time the silence didn't feel suffocating. It felt like breathing room. "Tell me about Mia," Victoria said quietly. He blinked. "What?" "Your daughter. You talk about her sometimes, at work, but I want to hear it from you, not the work version." So he told her. He told her about the pregnancy that ended a relationship instead of starting one, about late-night feedings and the terror of being solely responsible for a tiny human who couldn't even hold her own head up, about Mia's first word, Dada, at 11 months, clear as a bell, and how he'd cried for an hour afterward, about birthday parties and scraped knees and the way she'd recently decided she wanted to be an astronaut veterinarian when she grew up. And Victoria listened, actually listened, asked questions, laughed in the right places. Then she told him about her own life, about parents who'd measured success in corner offices and salaries, about a marriage that ended before 30 because her ex-husband couldn't handle being married to someone more ambitious than he was, about building a career that people respected but left her eating dinner alone most nights. They talked until 1 in the morning. And somewhere in those hours, Noah realized something. This wasn't just attraction. It wasn't just loneliness or convenience or the thrill of something forbidden. This was real. When Victoria finally stood to leave, Noah walked her to the door. She paused in the threshold, one hand on the frame. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not—" She smiled, small and tired. "For talking to me like a person." "You are a person, Victoria." "I know, but most people forget that." She left. And Noah stood in his empty apartment, staring at the 2 coffee mugs on the table, and knew that everything had just changed. He didn't sleep that night, just lay on the pull-out couch staring at the ceiling, replaying every word, every look, the way her voice had cracked when she said his name, the way his hands had shaken when he touched her hair. By the time the sun came up, he'd made a decision. Whatever this was, whatever it could be, he wasn't going to run from it. But he also wasn't going to let it cost Victoria everything she'd built. If they were going to do this, they were going to do it right, which meant boundaries, transparency, and probably a conversation with HR that would make them both want to crawl under a desk. His phone buzzed at 7 a.m. A text from Victoria. "Can we meet?" "Somewhere not work, not your place." Noah typed back. "When?" "Today." "Noon. There's a coffee shop on Maple, the one with the blue awning. I'll be there." He showed up 15 minutes early, ordered a black coffee he didn't drink, sat by the window and watched people pass by, wondering if any of them had ever felt this particular brand of terrified hope. Victoria arrived exactly at noon. She wore jeans, actual jeans, and a sweater, and her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked younger, softer. She slid into the seat across from him and folded her hands on the table. "I've been thinking," she said. "So have I." "This can't happen the way it is now," she continued, like she'd rehearsed it. "Not with the reporting structure, not with you directly under me. It's not fair to you, and it's not sustainable." Noah's chest tightened. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I want this. I want you, but not if it means putting your job at risk." She took a breath. "So I'm proposing a solution." "What kind of solution?" "There's an opening in the strategy division. Same level as your current position, but different department, different supervisor. It's a lateral move, so no one would question it, and it would mean we're not, technically, breaking any rules." Noah leaned back in his chair, processing. "You want me to transfer?" I want us to have a chance, Victoria said, her voice steady. A real one, without the power dynamic, without the secrecy. And you think that'll work? I think it's the only way this works. He looked at her, at the determination in her eyes, the vulnerability underneath it. Okay, he said. She blinked. Okay? I'll take the transfer. Just like that? Just like that. Noah leaned forward. But I need you to understand something. I'm not doing this because you told me to. I'm doing it because I want a future where I don't have to pretend I don't care about you, where we can figure out what this is without looking over our shoulders. Does that make sense? Victoria's eyes were bright. Yeah, it does. They sat there in a coffee shop on Maple Street and made a plan. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even close to simple, but it was honest. And for the first time in 2 years, Noah felt like he could breathe. So what now? He asked. Victoria smiled, a real smile, the kind he'd only seen glimpses of before. Now we do this right. Yeah? Yeah. Noah reached across the table, let his hand rest next to hers, not quite touching, and Victoria, after a moment, closed the distance, their fingers intertwined. And everything else, the risks, the complications, the questions, could wait. The transfer paperwork went through faster than Noah expected. 5 business days, and suddenly he had a new desk on the 4th floor, a new supervisor named Marcus Chen who spoke in clipped sentences and drank kombucha like it was water, and a calendar full of strategy meetings that made his old job look like a vacation. He'd expected the change to feel clean, a line drawn, problem solved. Instead, it felt like walking a tightrope in the dark. Because the thing nobody told you about office romances, even the ones that technically followed the rules, was that hiding in plain sight was its own special kind of exhausting. They couldn't be seen together too much, couldn't have lunch in the cafeteria at the same time, couldn't linger near each other's desks or show up to the same meetings unless it was absolutely necessary. And every time Noah passed Victoria in the hallway, he had to force himself to nod politely and keep walking, like his entire body wasn't screaming to stop and just look at her for 5 seconds. It was torture. But it was also worth it, because the moments they did have, the ones carved out in coffee shops across town or in her car parked 2 blocks from his apartment, felt like breathing after being underwater too long. The first real date happened on a Wednesday. Noah had picked Mia up from school, helped her with homework, made dinner, supervised the nightly battle over why brushing teeth was non-negotiable, and finally collapsed on the couch at 8:30. His phone buzzed. Victoria. Are you free? He stared at the message. Mia was asleep. His sister was on speed dial for emergencies, and he'd spent the last week seeing Victoria only in stolen moments that left him feeling like a teenager sneaking around. Noah, give me 20 minutes. He called his sister, bribed her with the promise of watching Mia this weekend so she could have a break, threw on a clean shirt, checked his reflection in the bathroom mirror and decided he looked acceptable, if a little sleep-deprived. Victoria picked him up 2 blocks away in her silver sedan because even though they were technically allowed to be together now, the optics of her car parked outside his building felt risky. Hey, she said when he slid into the passenger seat. Hey. She looked at him for a moment, like she was checking to make sure he was real. Then she pulled away from the curb, heading east. Where are we going? Noah asked. You'll see. They ended up at a small Italian place in a neighborhood neither of them frequented, the kind of restaurant with checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles, and exactly 0 chance of running into anyone from work. The hostess seated them in a corner booth, and Noah realized this was the first time they'd sat across from each other, without the weight of professionalism between them. It should have felt easier. It didn't. You look nervous, Victoria said, studying him over the top of her menu. I am nervous. Why? Because this is... Noah gestured vaguely at the table, the restaurant, the space between them. This is real now. It's not just conversations at midnight or texts during lunch breaks. It's a date. Victoria set down her menu. Does that scare you? A little. Does it scare you? Terrifies me. She said it so matter-of-factly that Noah almost laughed. Great. So we're both terrified. Seems like it. The waiter appeared, took their orders, disappeared. Noah watched Victoria trace the rim of her water glass with one finger, a gesture he recognized as her thinking face. What? He asked. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, she admitted. For you to realize this is too complicated, that I'm too much work. You're not too much work. You don't know that yet. Yeah, I do. Noah leaned forward. You think I didn't notice how you handle stress? Or how you close yourself off when things get hard? I've worked for you for 2 years, Victoria. I've seen you at your worst. She raised an eyebrow. And you're still here? I'm still here. Why? It was the same question she'd asked in different ways a dozen times now, like she couldn't quite believe the answer. Because your worst is still better than most people's best, Noah said simply. And because I don't want easy, I want real. Victoria's expression softened. You're annoyingly decent, you know that. I've been told. Dinner arrived. They ate and talked about nothing important. Movies they'd seen, books they'd started and never finished. The absurdity of Marcus Chen's kombucha obsession. It was easy. Comfortable. And somewhere between the pasta and dessert, Noah felt the tightness in his chest start to loosen. This could work. They stayed until the restaurant closed, then sat in her car in the parking lot because neither of them wanted the night to end. I should get back, Noah said eventually, glancing at his phone. Nearly midnight. I know. Neither of them moved. This is the part where you drive me home, Noah pointed out. I know that too. Victoria turned to face him, and in the dim light from the street lamp outside, she looked younger, less guarded. Can I ask you something? She said. Yeah. Do you ever regret it, taking the transfer, making this complicated? Noah didn't hesitate. No? Not even a little? Not even a little. He reached over, took her hand. Do you? I regret that it had to happen this way, Victoria said quietly. That you had to uproot your entire job because I couldn't keep my feelings to myself. Hey, Noah squeezed her hand. I chose this. You didn't make me do anything. I know, but still. No buts. We're here. We made a choice. And so far, I don't see any reason to regret it. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she leaned across the console and kissed him. It wasn't the first time. They'd kissed in her apartment 3 days after the coffee shop conversation, a tentative thing that had left them both shaking. But this felt different, deliberate, like a promise. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright. Take me home with you, she whispered. Noah's brain short-circuited. What? I don't want tonight to end. I don't want to drop you off and drive back to my empty apartment and pretend I'm okay with only seeing you in pieces. Victoria, I know it's fast. I know we said we'd take this slow, but I'm tired of slow. I'm tired of careful. She cupped his face with both hands. I want to wake up next to you just once, just to know what it feels like. Noah's heart was trying to beat its way out of his chest. Mia's at home. I know. She'll have questions. I know that too. Are you sure? Victoria smiled. I've never been more sure of anything. Noah kissed her again, hard and quick. Then he pulled out his phone and texted his sister. Change of plans. Can you keep Mia tomorrow too? His sister's response was immediate. Everything okay? Yeah, better than okay. You owe me details. Later. Thanks, Em. He looked at Victoria. Okay. Okay. Take me home. They didn't talk much on the drive back. Noah's hand rested on her thigh, and she covered it with hers, and the silence felt full instead of empty. His apartment looked exactly the way he'd left it. Dishes in the sink, Mia's drawings scattered across the coffee table, the pull-out couch still unmade from this morning. Noah felt a flash of embarrassment, but Victoria just kicked off her heels and looked around like she was memorizing the space. It's not much, Noah started. It's yours, she said. That makes it enough. She walked over to the refrigerator where Mia's artwork covered every available inch. Crayon drawings of stick figure families, a lopsided cat, a spaceship that looked more like a potato. She's talented, Victoria said. She's 7. Everything's talented at 7. Still, Victoria traced one of the drawings with a fingertip. You can tell she's happy. How? The colors. Happy kids use bright colors. Sad kids stick to grays and browns. Noah came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. You know a lot about kids for someone who doesn't have any. I read. Of course you do. She turned in his arms, looped hers around his neck. Are you going to feed me terrible coffee again, or are we just going to stand here? I make decent coffee, actually. Prove it. So he did. Made a fresh pot, pulled out the good mugs, the ones without chips. They sat on the couch. The actual couch this time, not separated by space and fear, and talked until 2 in the morning. Victoria told him about the promotion she'd turned down last year because it would have meant relocating to the East Coast. About her mother, who called once a month to ask when she was going to settle down and give her grandchildren. About the recurring dream she had where she showed up to a meeting and realized she'd forgotten to wear pants. Noah told her about the first time Mia called him Daddy instead of Dada, and how he'd had to leave the room because he'd started crying. About his own parents, who'd died in a car accident when he was 23, leaving him alone in a way he still hadn't fully processed. About the guilt he carried for not being enough, not successful enough, not patient enough, not present enough. "You're enough," Victoria said fiercely. "You're more than enough." "How do you know?" "Because Mia's happy, and happy kids don't come from parents who aren't enough." Noah kissed her, and this time it didn't stop. They moved to his bedroom, the one that was barely big enough for a queen mattress and a dresser. Clothes came off in the dark, dropped carelessly on the floor, and when Victoria pulled him down onto the bed, Noah felt like every careful wall he'd built over the last 2 years had finally, completely crumbled. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets that smelled like detergent and exhaustion, and Noah couldn't remember the last time he'd felt this settled. "Stay," he murmured against her hair. "I'm not going anywhere." "Good." He fell asleep with her head on his chest and her arm draped across his stomach, and for the first time in longer than he could remember, he didn't dream about shoes dropping. Morning came too soon. Noah woke to sunlight streaming through the blinds and the sound of his phone buzzing on the nightstand. He reached for it blindly, squinting at the screen. 6:30. A text from his sister. "Mia wants to know if she can have pancakes for breakfast." "I told her I don't do pancakes. She's devastated." Noah smiled, typed back. "Tell her I'll make them tomorrow. Extra chocolate chips. You spoil that kid. That's my job." He set the phone down and turned to find Victoria awake, watching him. "Morning," she said. "Morning." "That was about Mia?" "Yeah. She's negotiating breakfast terms." Victoria laughed softly. "Does she always negotiate?" "Always. Kid could run a Fortune 500 company." "Wonder where she gets that from." Noah poked her side gently. "Definitely not me. I'm terrible at negotiating." "You negotiated your way into my life." "That wasn't negotiation. That was desperation." Victoria propped herself up on one elbow, looking down at him. Her hair was a mess, makeup smudged, and Noah thought she'd never looked more beautiful. "I need to tell you something," she said. His stomach tightened. "Okay. Us, it's going to get complicated. People are going to notice. They're going to talk." "I know. And some of them are going to say things about the age gap, about you transferring, about whether this is real or just..." She paused. "Just me taking advantage. Let them talk. It might affect your career. I don't care. You should care, Noah. You worked hard to get where you are. And I'll work hard to stay there. But I'm not giving this up because people can't mind their own business." He reached up, tucked her hair behind her ear. "Unless you're having second thoughts." "No, no second thoughts. Just, I need you to understand what you're signing up for." "I understand." "Do you?" "Because this isn't just dating someone from work. This is dating your former boss. There's a power dynamic, even now, and people will see it that way." Noah sat up, pulling the sheet around his waist. "You want to know what I see?" "What?" "I see someone who's terrified of letting people in because every time she does, they prove her right about why she shouldn't. I see someone who thinks she has to earn affection by being perfect. And I see someone who showed up at my apartment in the middle of the night because she was brave enough to admit she wanted something real." Victoria's eyes were glassy. "So, yeah," Noah continued, "I know what I'm signing up for, and I'm still here." She kissed him, hard, and when she pulled back, she was smiling through tears. "You're going to ruin me," she whispered. "Good." They stayed in bed for another hour, talking in low voices about nothing and everything. Then Victoria's phone rang. She checked the screen, sighed. "It's work." "On a Thursday morning?" "Crisis doesn't take weekends." She answered. "Hail." Noah watched her face shift into professional mode, shoulders back, voice crisp, all traces of vulnerability gone. It was fascinating watching her put on armor in real time. "I'll be there in an hour," she said, then hung up. She looked at Noah. "I have to go." "What happened?" "Client meltdown. They're threatening to pull the contract if we don't get someone on site today." "Do you need me to?" "No, your strategy now. Different division." She started gathering her clothes from the floor. "But I appreciate the offer." Noah watched her dress, trying not to feel like the spell had broken. "Hey," she said, catching his expression, "this doesn't change anything." "I know. I mean it. Last night was—" She paused, searching for words. "Last night was everything. This is just work." "Okay." She came back to the bed, kissed him once more. "I'll call you later. Be safe." "Always am." She left, and the apartment felt too quiet. Noah showered, made coffee, tried not to obsess over every small thing. The way she'd looked at Mia's drawings. The way she'd fallen asleep with her hand over his heart. The way she'd said everything like she meant it. His phone buzzed. "Victoria." "I already miss you." Noah smiled. "Miss you too. Dinner tonight? My place? I have Mia. Bring her." Noah stared at the message. Read it 3 times to make sure he wasn't misreading. "Are you sure? I want to meet her, properly, not as your boss, as the person who's dating her dad." Noah's chest felt too tight. "She's going to grill you." "I can handle a 7-year-old. Famous last words. See you at 6? See you at 6. Noah set the phone down and tried to process what had just happened. Victoria wanted to meet Mia. Not as a coworker, not as someone passing through, as someone who mattered. This was real. He spent the rest of the day cleaning the apartment, doing laundry, and trying not to spiral into anxiety. By the time he picked Mia up from his sister's place, he'd convinced himself this was either the best idea ever or a disaster waiting to happen. "Daddy!" Mia launched herself into his arms, nearly knocking him backward. "Hey, Bug, miss me?" "So much. Aunt Emma doesn't make pancakes." "I heard. Tragic." Emma appeared in the doorway, smirking. "She's been complaining for 20 minutes. "I don't complain," Mia said indignantly. "I express my feelings." Noah bit back a laugh. "Where'd you learn that?" "School. Miss Rodriguez says we should always express our feelings. Miss Rodriguez is very smart." He set Mia down, grabbed her backpack. "Listen, Bug, we're doing something different tonight." "What?" "We're having dinner at my friend's house." Mia's eyes narrowed. "What friend?" "Her name's Victoria. She's—" Noah glanced at his sister, who was watching this exchange with barely concealed glee. "She's someone I care about a lot." "Is she your girlfriend?" Emma coughed to cover a laugh. "Yeah," Noah said. "She is." Mia considered this. "Does she like space?" "I don't know. You'll have to ask her." "Okay, can I bring my rocket?" "Sure." "And my astronaut bear?" "Whatever you want, Bug." Mia nodded, apparently satisfied. "I'm gonna go pack." She disappeared into the guest room, leaving Noah alone with his sister. "So," Emma said. "Girlfriend, huh?" "Don't start." "I'm not starting. I'm observing. There's a difference." "Emma, is this the same person you've been sneaking around with for the last 2 weeks?" "I haven't been sneaking." "Noah, you asked me to watch Mia 3 times in 10 days. You never asked me to watch Mia." He sighed. "Yeah, it's the same person. And she wants to meet the kid?" "Apparently." Emma studied him for a moment. "You look happy." "I am happy." "Good. You deserve it." She poked him in the chest. "But if she hurts you, I'm going to make her life very difficult." "Noted. I mean it. I've got contacts." "You work at a dentist's office." "Exactly. I know things." Noah laughed despite himself. "I'll keep that in mind." Mia reappeared with her backpack, stuffed rocket, and astronaut bear. "Ready?" They said goodbye to Emma and drove across town to Victoria's building. It was nicer than Noah's, actual security, a doorman, an elevator that didn't make concerning sounds, and Mia spent the entire ride up staring at the buttons like they held the secrets of the universe. "She lives on the 10th floor?" Mia whispered. "Yeah." "That's so high." "It is pretty high." "Do you think she can see space from up here?" Probably not, Bug. The elevator dinged. They stepped into a hallway that smelled like expensive candles, and Noah found himself smoothing his shirt nervously. Mia grabbed his hand. It's okay, Daddy. I'll protect you. He squeezed her fingers. Thanks, Bug. Victoria opened the door before they could knock. She'd changed into jeans and a sweater, her hair down, looking nothing like the woman who'd left his apartment in crisis mode this morning. Hi, she said. Hi. They stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. Then Mia cleared her throat loudly. I'm Mia. Victoria's attention shifted down, and her entire expression softened. Hi, Mia. I'm Victoria. It's really nice to meet you. Do you like space? Victoria blinked. Yes, I do. Good. This is Buzz. He's an astronaut. Mia held up the bear. He looks very professional. He is. He's been to Mars 3 times. Wow, that's impressive. Mia nodded seriously. Can we come in now? Daddy says it's rude to stand in doorways. Victoria laughed, a real one, and stepped aside. Of course. Come in. The apartment was exactly what Noah expected. Clean lines, neutral colors, everything in its place. But there were also small touches that felt like Victoria. A stack of books on the coffee table, a blanket draped over the couch, a collection of framed photos on the bookshelf. Mia made a beeline for the bookshelf. Do you have any books about rockets? I don't think so, but I have some about explorers. That works. Victoria glanced at Noah, eyebrows raised. He shrugged helplessly. Dinner was surprisingly easy. Victoria had ordered Thai food, pad Thai for her, spring rolls for Noah, and chicken fried rice for Mia after she'd asked approximately 700 questions about what was in everything. They ate at Victoria's dining table, which was probably the first time it had been used for an actual meal in months, and Mia talked non-stop about school, her friend Jaden, who could burp the alphabet, and her current theory about whether aliens had already visited Earth and were just really good at hiding. Victoria listened to all of it with genuine interest, asking questions and laughing in the right places, and Noah felt something in his chest crack open. This could actually work. After dinner, Mia insisted on showing Victoria her rocket, which led to a 20-minute discussion about propulsion systems that was way over Noah's head. He watched them from the couch, his daughter explaining thrust-to-weight ratios with the confidence of someone who'd watched way too many YouTube videos, and Victoria nodding along like this was the most important conversation she'd ever had. Eventually, Mia yawned. Someone's tired, Noah said. I'm not tired. Bug. Okay, maybe a little tired. Victoria smiled. It's been a long day. Mia looked at her seriously. Are you going to be Daddy's girlfriend forever? The room went very quiet. Victoria glanced at Noah, then back at Mia. I'd like to be, if that's okay with you. Mia thought about this. Do you make pancakes? I've never tried. Daddy makes really good pancakes. I've heard. Okay, you can be his girlfriend. Mia yawned again. But you have to learn about rockets. Deal. Noah stood, scooped Mia into his arms. Say goodnight. Good night, Victoria. Thanks for dinner. Good night, Mia. Thanks for teaching me about space. Noah carried her to the guest room Victoria had set up, just a bed and some extra blankets, but Mia was asleep before her head hit the pillow. He came back to find Victoria standing by the window, arms wrapped around herself. That went well? He said. She turned. She's amazing. She liked you. How can you tell? She shared Buzz. She never shares Buzz. Victoria's smile was small and fragile. I was terrified. I know. I kept thinking I'd say the wrong thing, that she'd hate me. Noah crossed the room, pulled her into his arms. She doesn't hate you, and even if she had questions, we would have figured it out. Victoria rested her head against his chest. I've never done this before. Done what? This. The whole meeting the kid thing, being part of someone's actual life. You're doing fine. Am I? Yeah. He kissed the top of her head. You really are. They stood there for a while, just holding each other. Then Victoria pulled back just enough to look up at him. Stay tonight, she said. Both of you. You sure? I have a guest room. Mia's already asleep, and I don't... She paused. I don't want you to leave. Noah cupped her face. Okay. Okay? We'll stay. Relief flooded her expression. Good. They moved to the couch, turned on something mindless on TV, and sat curled together in the dark. Noah felt Victoria's breathing slow, felt her relax against him, and thought about how strange it was that a month ago this would have been impossible. Hey, he said quietly. Hmm? I'm glad you knocked on my door. Victoria tilted her head up. Yeah? Yeah? She kissed him, soft and slow, and Noah thought maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. The first crack in their carefully constructed privacy came on a Tuesday. Noah was in the break room on the 4th floor, microwaving leftover lasagna and scrolling through his phone, when he heard the voices. 2 women from accounting standing just outside the door, speaking in those stage whispers people used when they wanted to be overheard. I'm just saying, it's suspicious. He transfers right when she starts acting different. Different how? I don't know. Happier? She smiled at me in the elevator last week. Victoria Hale doesn't smile. Maybe she's just in a good mood. For 3 weeks straight? Come on, Sarah, connect the dots. Noah's stomach dropped. He kept his eyes on his phone, pretending he hadn't heard, but his heart was hammering. The microwave beeped. He grabbed his food and headed back to his desk, avoiding eye contact with everyone he passed. When he got to his cubicle, he texted Victoria. People are talking. Her response came 2 minutes later. I know. What do we do? Nothing. Let them talk. Victoria. We're not breaking any rules, Noah. We don't owe them explanations. He wanted to believe her, wanted to think it was that simple, but the knot in his stomach told him otherwise. That night he brought it up over dinner at his place. Mia was at the table building a tower out of broccoli and ignoring her chicken, while Victoria sat across from him looking exhausted. Bug, eat your food, not your architecture, Noah said. I'm making a spaceship. Make it after you eat 3 bites. Mia sighed dramatically but complied. Victoria watched the exchange with something that might have been amusement. You're good at that, she said quietly. At what? The parent thing. Knowing when to push and when to let it go. Noah shrugged. I've had 7 years of practice, still mess it up half the time. You don't mess it up. You haven't seen me at 3 a.m. when she's had a nightmare, and I'm trying to explain why monsters aren't real while also wondering if I paid the electric bill. Victoria smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She'd been off since she arrived, distracted, tense, like she was bracing for something. After Mia went to bed, Noah found Victoria on the couch, staring at nothing. Okay, he said, sitting next to her. What's going on? Nothing. Don't do that. Do what? Shut me out. He took her hand. Talk to me. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I got called into HR today. Noah's blood went cold. What? Someone filed a complaint, anonymous, said there's a conflict of interest between us and that the transfer was suspicious. But we followed protocol. You made sure. I know, and HR knows. They reviewed everything, confirmed we're in the clear. She looked at him. But they also suggested we might want to be more discreet. Discreet. Their word, not mine. Noah felt anger rising in his chest. So what? We're supposed to hide, pretend we don't know each other? That's not what they said. But that's what they meant. Victoria pulled her hand away, stood up, paced to the window. They're covering their bases, Noah, making sure nothing comes back on the company. It's not personal. It feels personal. Well, it's not. Her voice was sharp now, defensive. This is how corporate works. You know that. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. Maybe, but it's reality. Noah stood too, frustration boiling over. So what do you want to do? You want to stop seeing each other at work? Stop having lunch? Pretend we're strangers? I don't know. Victoria's voice cracked. I don't know what I want, Noah. I just know that I'm tired. I'm tired of defending this, of justifying it, of feeling like I have to apologize for wanting something that makes me happy. The silence that followed was suffocating. I'm not asking you to apologize, Noah said finally, his voice quieter now. I'm asking you to fight for this. For us. I am fighting for us. That's why I transferred you. That's why I went to HR and made sure everything was documented. But there's only so much I can control. I know. Do you? Because sometimes it feels like you think this is easy for me. Like I'm not constantly worried that one wrong move is going to blow up both our careers. Noah crossed to her, took her shoulders gently. I don't think it's easy. I know it's not. But we can't let them win. Who's them? Everyone who wants to make this harder than it needs to be. Everyone who can't mind their own business. Victoria's eyes were wet. What if they're right? What if this is too complicated? It's not. How do you know? Because I love you. The words were out before he could stop them, hanging in the air between them like a confession and a dare. Victoria stared at him. What? Noah swallowed hard. I love you. I know it's fast, and I know we're still figuring things out, but I do. And I need you to know that before you decide this is too hard. She didn't say anything, just looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. Then she kissed him, hard and desperate, like she was trying to prove something to herself. When she pulled back, she was crying. I love you too, she whispered. And that terrifies me. Why? Because I've never had something I was this afraid to lose. Noah pulled her close, held her while she shook. You're not going to lose me. You can't promise that. Watch me. They stayed like that for a while, wrapped in each other in the middle of his tiny living room, and Noah thought about how unfair it was that loving someone came with so much fear attached. The next few weeks were a study in controlled chaos. At work, they were professionals. Polite nods in hallways. Brief, impersonal emails. No lingering conversations. It was excruciating, but it was necessary. Outside of work, they tried to carve out normalcy. Dinners at Victoria's place. Movie nights with Mia. Weekends where they pretended the rest of the world didn't exist. But the cracks kept showing. Mia started asking why Victoria couldn't come to her soccer games. Noah couldn't explain that having his girlfriend show up to a weekend event where half his coworkers' kids also played felt risky. So he made excuses. Work. Scheduling conflicts. Things a 7-year-old couldn't argue with but didn't quite believe. Victoria started staying late at the office more often, not because she had to, but because being there felt simpler than navigating the minefield of their relationship. Noah understood it, but it still stung. They were trying, but trying felt like running on a treadmill. Lots of effort, no actual movement. The breaking point came on a Friday. Noah was leaving work, heading to pick up Mia from after-school care, when he ran into Derek Simmons in the parking garage. Derek worked in sales, had the kind of aggressive friendliness that felt like a con, and had never bothered to learn Noah's name before the transfer. Bennett! Derek called out, jogging to catch up. Hey man, got a second? Noah really didn't, but he stopped. What's up? Derek grinned, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. Just wanted to say congrats. On the promotion strategy division, right? It was a lateral move. Sure, but still, nice timing. What's that supposed to mean? Derek's grin widened. Nothing, just interesting, you know? You work under Hale for 2 years, then suddenly you're transferred right when she starts, glowing. Noah's jaw tightened. I don't follow. Come on, man, everyone knows. You two aren't exactly subtle. There's nothing to know. Right. Derek clapped him on the shoulder. Well, good for you. Sleeping your way into a better position. That's the dream, isn't it? Noah's fist connected with Derek's jaw before he'd fully decided to swing. Derek stumbled back, hand flying to his face. What the hell? Don't. Noah's voice was low, shaking. Don't talk about her like that. You just assaulted me. You insulted my girlfriend. Consider it even. Derek's eyes went wide. Then he laughed, bitter and mean. So it's true. Man, this is going to be all over the office by Monday. Noah's stomach dropped. Derek, you just confirmed it, genius. Thanks for that. Derek backed toward his car, still holding his jaw. Hope she was worth it. Noah stood there in the parking garage, watching Derek drive away, and felt his entire world tilt sideways. He'd just made everything worse. He called Victoria on the way to pick up Mia. She answered on the first ring. Hey, I'm just finishing up. I hit Derek Simmons. Silence. You what? Noah gripped the steering wheel. He said something about you, about us, and I hit him. Noah, I know I shouldn't have, but he was standing there, smirking, saying I slept my way into the transfer, and I couldn't let him talk about you like that. More silence, then quietly, what exactly did he say? Noah told her, every word. And with each sentence, he heard the weight settling into Victoria's breathing. "This is bad," she said finally. "I know. He's going to report this. You could be fired." "I know that too." "Then why did you do it?" "Because I love you." The words came out louder than he meant. "Because I'm tired of people treating this like it's something dirty. Like you're something dirty. You're not. We're not. And I wasn't going to stand there and let him. Noah." Her voice was firm now, the executive voice she used in meetings. "Listen to me. You need to get ahead of this. Go to HR first thing Monday. Report it yourself. Explain what happened. Victoria, don't argue. Just do it. And whatever happens, we deal with it. Together." Noah's throat was tight. "Okay. I mean it. We're not running from this." "Okay. I'll talk to my lawyer, see what our options are." "Your lawyer?" "Noah, this could get messy. I need to be prepared." He wanted to argue, wanted to say it wouldn't come to that. But he couldn't. "Okay," he said again. "Pick up Mia. Go home. We'll figure this out tomorrow. Victoria, I love you. Remember that." The line went dead. Noah picked up Mia in a daze. She chattered the whole way home about her day, something about Jaden eating paste and the teacher yelling, but Noah couldn't focus. His mind kept replaying the punch. Derek's face, the sound of his own voice saying girlfriend, like it was a challenge. He'd been so stupid. That night, after Mia was asleep, Noah sat on his couch and stared at his phone. Part of him wanted to call Victoria back. Part of him wanted to drive to her apartment and apologize. But mostly, he just felt tired. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Heard you had an eventful afternoon. Careful, Bennett. Assault charges are a bad look." Noah stared at the message. Then he blocked the number and threw his phone across the room. Saturday morning came too early. Noah woke up to Mia jumping on his bed, demanding pancakes, and for a few blissful seconds, he forgot about Derek Simmons and parking garages and the fact that he might have just destroyed everything. Then reality crashed back in. He made pancakes, lots of them, with chocolate chips and whipped cream and all the sugar Mia could handle, because if he was going to spiral into anxiety, at least his daughter would have a good breakfast. Victoria showed up at 10. She looked like she hadn't slept. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy bun, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt Noah had never seen her in. "Hey," she said when he opened the door. "Hey." Mia appeared behind him. "Victoria, do you want pancakes? Daddy made 1,000,000. Victoria managed a smile. "Maybe later, sweetheart. Can I talk to your dad for a minute?" "Okay. I'll be in my room, building rockets." She disappeared and Noah stepped aside to let Victoria in. They stood in the entryway, neither quite sure where to start. "I talked to my lawyer," Victoria said finally. "And?" "And if Derek reports the assault, you're probably looking at a formal investigation, maybe suspension, possibly termination, depending on how hard he pushes." Noah's chest tightened. "Great. But if you report it first, if you frame it as self-defense against verbal harassment, you might have a chance." "Might. It's not a guarantee, Noah, but it's better than waiting for him to control the narrative." He nodded, feeling numb. "There's something else," Victoria said, her voice quieter now. "What?" "I think I should step back." Noah's head snapped up. "What?" "From us. Temporarily. Just until this blows over." "Are you serious?" "Noah, if we're together during an investigation, it looks worse. It looks like I'm influencing the outcome, like I'm protecting you." "You should be protecting me. I protected you." "I know, and I'm grateful. But this isn't about gratitude. It's about optics." "Screw optics," Noah's voice rose. "You're really going to bail because some corporate policy says it looks bad?" "I'm not bailing. I'm being strategic." "No, you're being a coward." Victoria flinched like he'd slapped her. The silence was brutal. "I'm sorry," Noah said immediately. "I didn't mean—" "No, you did." Victoria's voice was steady, but her eyes were blazing. "You think I'm choosing my career over you, aren't you? I'm trying to protect both of us. If I stay, if we keep seeing each other during this, they'll use it against you. They'll say I have too much influence, that the investigation is compromised, and then you lose your job anyway, and it's all for nothing." "So what, we just stop? Pretend we don't exist?" For a few weeks, that's all. Just until the investigation is over. Noah laughed, bitter. And what if it takes months? What if Derek drags this out? Then we deal with it. Separately. If that's what it takes. Noah turned away, ran his hands through his hair. I can't believe this. Noah, you said you loved me. You said you weren't going to lose me. I'm not losing you. I'm trying to save you. By leaving. By being smart. Victoria's voice cracked. You think I want this? You think I want to walk away from you and Mia and everything we've built? I don't. But sometimes love means making the hard choice. Don't. Noah's voice was low. Don't make this sound noble. You're scared. You're scared that staying means risking your reputation, and you'd rather bail than fight. Victoria's face went pale. That's not fair. Isn't it? She stared at him for a long moment. Then she picked up her bag. I should go. Yeah, you should. She walked to the door, then stopped. I do love you, Noah. I need you to believe that. I want to, but you don't. He didn't answer. Victoria left. The apartment felt too quiet. Noah stood in the middle of his living room, listening to Mia sing to herself in her bedroom, and tried to figure out how everything had fallen apart so fast. His phone buzzed, a text from his sister. You okay? You sound weird. He stared at the message, then typed back. Not really. Want to talk? Not yet. Okay, I'm here when you're ready. Noah set the phone down and went to check on Mia. She was sitting on her floor surrounded by Legos, building something that might have been a rocket or might have been a dinosaur. Hey, Bug. She looked up. Did Victoria leave? Yeah. Is she coming back? Noah's throat tightened. I don't know. Mia frowned. Did you have a fight? Sort of. You should say sorry. It's complicated. Grown-ups always say that. Mia went back to her Legos. But sorry is sorry. That's what Ms. Rodriguez says. Noah sat down next to her. You're pretty smart. You know that? I know. She handed him a Lego brick. Here, you can help. So he did. They built rockets and dinosaurs and a castle that Mia insisted was actually a space station. And for a little while, Noah let himself forget about everything else. But that night, after Mia was asleep, the loneliness hit hard. He texted Victoria, I'm sorry for calling you a coward. No response. He waited an hour, then tried again. Can we talk? Still nothing. By midnight, he'd accepted that she wasn't going to answer. Monday morning felt like walking into a firing squad. Noah went to HR first thing, just like Victoria had said. He sat across from a woman named Janet who took notes in a leather portfolio and asked questions in a voice that gave nothing away. So you're reporting an incident with Derek Simmons? Yes. Can you walk me through what happened? Noah did. He kept his voice steady, stuck to the facts, tried not to sound defensive. Janet wrote everything down. And you physically struck Mr. Simmons? Yes. Because of what he said about Ms. Hale. Because of what he implied about both of us? Yes. Janet set down her pen. Mr. Bennett, you understand that physical violence in the workplace is grounds for immediate termination? Yes. And you still chose to strike him? Noah met her eyes. He was making accusations that weren't true. He was being disrespectful, and I reacted poorly. I take full responsibility for that. Are you and Ms. Hale in a relationship? There it was, the question he'd been dreading. Noah took a breath. Yes. Janet made a note. And when did this relationship begin? After I transferred to strategy. We made sure there was no conflict of interest. I see. More notes. And the transfer, was that related to the relationship? It was to prevent a conflict of interest. Ms. Hale arranged it to keep everything professional. Janet nodded slowly. I'll need to verify that with Ms. Hale. Of course. In the meantime, I'm going to have to place you on administrative leave pending the outcome of this investigation. You'll continue to receive pay, but you won't be permitted on company premises. Noah's stomach dropped. For how long? However long the investigation takes. Could be a week, could be longer. And if Derek files charges, then we deal with that separately. Janet closed her portfolio. Mr. Bennett, I want to be clear. This is a serious matter. Assault is not something we take lightly. I understand. I hope you do. Noah left HR feeling like he'd just been handed a death sentence. He cleaned out his desk, temporary, they said, but it felt permanent, and walked out of the building at 9:30 on a Monday morning with a box of his things and no idea what came next. His phone rang as he reached his car. Victoria. He almost didn't answer, but he did. Noah. Her voice was tight. I just got called into HR. I know, I reported it this morning. They're asking about the transfer, about us. I told them the truth. Silence. I'm on administrative leave, Noah said, effective immediately. I'm so sorry. Are you? The words came out harsher than he meant. Of course I am. Noah, I never wanted this. But you saw it coming. Yes. And you still asked me to step back. More silence. I have to go, Victoria said quietly. They're waiting for me. Yeah. Go. She hung up. Noah sat in his car in the parking garage where he'd punched Derek Simmons 72 hours ago and wondered how everything had gone so wrong so fast. His phone buzzed again. A text from Victoria. I meant what I said. I love you. That hasn't changed. Noah stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed back. Then prove it. He started the car and drove home and tried not to think about what happened next. The text sat on Noah's phone like a challenge he wasn't ready to answer. Then prove it. He'd sent it to Victoria in a moment of anger and hurt, sitting in his car after being put on administrative leave, and now he didn't know what he'd expected. An immediate response, a grand gesture, some sign that she was willing to fight as hard as he was? Instead, there was silence. Noah drove home in a fog. The box of his desk belongings sat in the passenger seat, like evidence of a crime he wasn't sure he'd committed. His phone stayed quiet, and by the time he pulled into his parking spot, he'd convinced himself that maybe this was it. Maybe Victoria had finally decided he wasn't worth the complications. The apartment felt too empty. Mia wouldn't be home for hours. He had nothing to do and too much time to think about it. He unpacked the box mechanically. Picture frame of Mia, coffee mug that said "World's Okayest Dad" that his sister had given him as a joke. A stack of project files he probably shouldn't have taken, but nobody had stopped him. His desk plant, which had somehow survived 2 years of his neglect. His phone buzzed. Emma. Mia wants to know if she can have a sleepover at Jaden's house Friday. Noah stared at the message. Friday was 3 days away. He was supposed to be back at work by Friday. Except now he wasn't sure if he'd ever be back at work. Sure, I'll coordinate with Jaden's mom. Emma. You okay? You're usually more chatty. Long day. Emma. Want to talk about it? Not yet. Emma. Okay, but I'm here when you're ready. Noah set the phone down and went to the kitchen, made coffee he didn't want, stared out the window at nothing, tried not to think about Derek Simmons' smug face or the way Victoria had sounded on the phone. Tired, resigned, like she'd already accepted defeat. His phone rang. Unknown number. Noah almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Hello? Mr. Bennett, this is Richard Kowalski. I'm an attorney. Noah's stomach dropped. Okay. I've been retained by Derek Simmons regarding an incident that occurred on Friday. I'm calling to inform you that my client is considering filing both criminal assault charges and a civil suit for damages. Damages. Emotional distress, medical expenses, loss of workplace security. The list is fairly extensive. Noah sat down hard on the couch. I see. However, my client is willing to consider a settlement. If you're interested in discussing terms, I'd suggest you retain counsel of your own. And if I'm not interested? Then we proceed with the charges and the suit. I should warn you, Mr. Bennett, that workplace violence cases tend not to go well for the aggressor, particularly when there's a power dynamic involved. A power dynamic? My client has documentation suggesting you were involved in a relationship with a superior and that the transfer was arranged to circumvent company policy. That paints a certain picture, I'm sure you understand. Noah felt like he'd been punched. That's not what happened. I'm simply informing you of how it might appear to a jury. I'll give you 48 hours to consider your options. After that, we file. The line went dead. Noah sat there holding his phone, feeling the walls close in. Derek wasn't just making noise. He was coming after him with lawyers and documentation and a story that made Noah look like exactly the kind of person he'd spent his whole life trying not to be. Someone who took shortcuts, who used relationships for advancement, who threw punches because he couldn't control his temper. The worst part was that some of it was true. He had hit Derek. He was in a relationship with his former boss, and no matter how many times he explained the timeline, the transfer, the careful steps they'd taken to do everything right, it still looked suspicious. His phone buzzed, a text from Victoria. "Can we talk?" Not on the phone. In person. Noah's hands were shaking as he typed back, "When? Now, I'm outside." He went to the window. Victoria's car was parked 2 spots down from his building entrance, and she was sitting in the driver's seat, staring at her steering wheel like she was gathering courage. Noah went downstairs. She saw him coming and got out of the car. She looked terrible. Hair in a messy ponytail, no makeup, wearing jeans and a sweater he'd seen her sleep in. Like she'd thrown on the first things she'd found and driven straight here. "Hey," she said. "Hey." They stood on the sidewalk, neither quite sure where to start. "I got a call from Derek's lawyer," Noah said finally. Victoria's face went pale. "What?" "He's threatening criminal charges and a civil suit. Says I have 48 hours to agree to a settlement, or he files." "That son of a—" Victoria cut herself off, pressed her fingers to her temples. Okay, we can deal with this." "Can we?" "Yes. I know someone, a good lawyer. She handles employment cases. I'll call her right now." Victoria, "No, listen to me. Derek doesn't have a case. Not a real one. He provoked you. There were witnesses. And the relationship thing, we have documentation, emails, transfer requests. Everything was done by the book. Except I still hit him. In response to harassment, that matters." Noah shook his head. His lawyer made it sound pretty convincing. The power dynamic angle, the timing of everything. Because that's what lawyers do. They make things sound worse than they are to scare you into settling. Victoria grabbed his hands. "But we're not settling. We're fighting this." "Why?" She blinked. "What? Why are you fighting this? You already stepped back. You already said we should be apart during the investigation. What changed?" Victoria looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "I went home after we talked, to my apartment, and I sat there in the quiet, and I tried to convince myself that stepping back was the smart move, the strategic one. And I realized I've spent my entire adult life making the smart move, the strategic one. I married the right person on paper, and it ended in divorce. I took the right jobs, climbed the right ladder, said the right things in the right meetings. And you know what I got for it? What? A big empty apartment and a reputation for being excellent at my job and absolutely nothing else that mattered." Her voice cracked. "I don't want to be strategic anymore, Noah. I want to be honest, and honestly, I love you. And I'm not walking away from that because some lawyer is trying to scare us." Noah felt his throat tighten. "Victoria Tashi, I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you by suggesting we step back. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. So tell me what you need. Tell me how to fix this." "I need to know you're all in," Noah said. "Not strategically, not temporarily. All in no matter what happens." "I am. Even if Derek takes me to court? Even if I lose my job? Even then. Even if people talk? Even if it gets messy?" "Noah." Victoria stepped closer. "I quit." His brain stuttered. "What?" "I quit my job. This morning. Gave my notice to HR, told them I was done effective immediately." Noah couldn't process what he was hearing. "You quit." "I quit." "Why?" "Because I needed to prove to you and to myself that I'm serious about this, about us. And because I realized that as long as I was still at that company, I'd always be worried about optics and policies and what people thought, and I'm tired of being worried." Noah stared at her. "You built that career for a decade." "I know." "You were being considered for VP. I know that too. And you just walked away." "I walked toward something better." Victoria cupped his face with both hands. "I walked toward you. Toward a life where I don't have to compartmentalize everything, where I can just be myself and be with the person I love without constantly looking over my shoulder." Noah pulled her into his arms and held on tight. She was shaking, or maybe he was shaking, or maybe they both were. "You're insane," he muttered into her hair. "Probably." "What are you going to do now?" "I don't know yet. Figure it out. I've got savings. I've got contacts. I'll consult, maybe. Start my own thing. The point is, it's my choice now. Not the company's. Not HR's. Mine." Noah pulled back just enough to look at her. "I can't believe you did that." "Believe it." She smiled, wobbly but real. "I'm unemployed and slightly terrified, but I'm yours. If you still want me." "If I still want you," Noah repeated. Then he kissed her, hard and certain, right there on the sidewalk where anyone could see. When they broke apart, Victoria was crying. "Come upstairs," Noah said. "Okay." They went up to his apartment, and this time when they sat on the couch, there was no distance between them. Victoria curled into his side, and Noah wrapped his arm around her shoulders, and they just sat there for a while, breathing. "We need a lawyer," Victoria said eventually. "Yeah. And we need to prepare for the possibility that Derek actually files." "I know. But we're going to be okay." Noah kissed the top of her head. "Yeah, we are." Victoria pulled out her phone and made a call. Noah listened as she explained the situation to someone named Rachel, who apparently specialized in employment law and had handled cases like this before. Victoria was calm, professional, hitting all the key points, but her hand was gripping Noah's the entire time. When she hung up, she said, "Rachel can see us tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. "Us?" "I'm coming with you. I'm a witness, and I'm—" She paused. "I'm your partner in all of this." Noah nodded. "Okay." "Okay?" "Yeah, okay." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Victoria said, "I should probably tell you the other reason I quit." "There's another reason?" "Yeah." She shifted to face him. "I gave my statement to HR before I left. Told them everything Derek said, everything that led up to you hitting him, and I made it very clear that if they terminated you over this, I would make their lives extremely difficult." Noah's eyebrows shot up. "You threatened HR?" "I didn't threaten, I informed. There's a difference." "Victoria, I also might have mentioned that I have documentation of several other instances where Derek has made inappropriate comments to female employees, and that, if this goes badly, I'd be happy to share that documentation with anyone who asks." Noah stared at her. "You have documentation?" "I've been in that company for 10 years, Noah. I notice things, and I keep records." "You're terrifying." "I prefer thorough." She smiled. "The point is, I gave them a very clear picture of what's at stake. For Derek, for the company, and for you. Whether it helps or not, I don't know. But at least they can't say they weren't warned." Noah shook his head in disbelief. "What did they say?" Janet from HR looked like she wanted to crawl under her desk, but she took notes. Lots of notes. "And then you quit." "And then I quit. Seemed like the best time to make an exit." Noah laughed despite everything. "You're unbelievable. I'm effective." "That too." Victoria's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then showed him the screen. An email from Rachel, the lawyer, confirming the appointment and asking them to bring any documentation they had. "I've got the transfer paperwork," Noah said, "and the emails between us about making sure everything was appropriate. I've got my statement to HR, and the documentation about Derek. Think it'll be enough?" Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I think we have a better shot than Derek wants us to believe. But even if we didn't, I'd still fight. Because this isn't just about winning, it's about not letting him intimidate us into giving up." Noah pulled her close again. "When did you get so brave?" "I'm not brave. I'm angry. There's a difference." "You quit your job and threatened HR. That's pretty brave. Or stupid. Maybe both." Victoria laughed, and it sounded almost normal. "Yeah, maybe both." They ordered takeout that night because neither of them felt like cooking. Sat on the floor of Noah's living room with Chinese food containers spread out between them, talking through everything that had happened and everything that might happen next. "What if I lose my job?" Noah asked. "Then you find another one." "What if Derek wins the suit?" "Then we deal with it, together." "What if—" "Noah." Victoria set down her chopsticks and looked at him seriously. "We could sit here all night playing what if. Or we could accept that we don't know what's going to happen and just focus on right now." "And what's right now?" Right now we're together. We're eating mediocre lo mein in your apartment, and we're not giving up. She reached across the containers and took his hand. That's enough for now. Noah squeezed her fingers. Yeah, it is. After they finished eating, Victoria went to take a shower while Noah cleaned up. He was putting away leftovers when his phone rang. Emma. Hey, he answered. Hey yourself. Mia wanted me to call and ask if Victoria's coming to her soccer game on Saturday. Noah's chest tightened. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? She's been to the last 3. Things are complicated right now. Complicated how? Noah sighed, gave her the abbreviated version. The fight with Derek, the administrative leave, the lawyer's call, Victoria quitting. Emma was silent for a long moment. Then, holy shit. Yeah. Is Victoria there now? Yeah. Put her on. Emma. Put her on, Noah. He walked to the bathroom, knocked. Victoria, my sister wants to talk to you. The water turned off. Victoria emerged a minute later in one of Noah's t-shirts, hair wrapped in a towel. She took the phone with a questioning look. Hello? She said. Noah couldn't hear Emma's side of the conversation, but he watched Victoria's face cycle through surprise, confusion, and then something that looked like relief. Thank you, Victoria said quietly. That means a lot. She handed the phone back to Noah. What did she say? He asked Emma. I told her that anyone who quits their job to be with my brother is either insane or serious, and since she seems pretty sane, she must be serious, and that I approve. Noah felt his throat tighten. Also I told her that she's coming to Mia's soccer game on Saturday because Mia will be devastated if she doesn't, and I'm not dealing with a devastated 7-year-old. She might not be up for... She's up for it. I can tell. Now stop worrying and let me talk to Mia. She's been bouncing around asking about pancakes for tomorrow. Tell her I'll make them. I already did. She's skeptical about whether you'll remember chocolate chips. I always remember chocolate chips. That's what I said. Okay, I'm hanging up now. Love you. Love you too. He hung up and found Victoria watching him with an odd expression. Your sister's intense, she said. You have no idea. She invited me to Mia's soccer game. You don't have to go if you don't want to. I want to, Victoria smiled. I like watching Mia play. She's terrible at soccer, but she tries really hard. Noah laughed. She really is terrible. It's endearing. That's one word for it. Victoria came over, wrapped her arms around his waist. Thank you for this. For what? For letting me in, your family, your life, all of it. You're part of it now, Noah said simply, whether you like it or not. I like it. She stood on her toes and kissed him. I really, really like it. They went to bed early that night, both exhausted from the emotional whiplash of the day. Noah set an alarm for 6 a.m. so they'd have time to prepare before meeting with Rachel. But he woke up at 3 to find Victoria awake beside him, staring at the ceiling. Can't sleep? He asked. She turned her head. Sorry, didn't mean to wake you. You didn't. What's wrong? I keep thinking about tomorrow, about what Derek's lawyer might say, about whether Rachel will think we have a case. She'll think we have a case. You said she's good. She is, but good doesn't always mean winning. Noah rolled onto his side, propped himself up on one elbow. Are you having second thoughts? About quitting? No, maybe. I don't know. Victoria rubbed her eyes. I keep waiting for the panic to hit, for the reality of being unemployed to sink in, but it hasn't yet. Maybe it won't. It will. It always does. Then we'll deal with it when it comes. Victoria looked at him. You're very calm about all this. One of us has to be. I'm supposed to be the calm one. I'm the one who handles crisis. Yeah, well, maybe it's my turn. Noah reached over and took her hand. You've spent the last however many years being the person everyone else relies on. Let me be that person for you for a while. Victoria's eyes filled. I don't know how to do that. Then learn. I'll teach you. She laughed wetly. You're ridiculous. So you keep saying. She pulled him down into a kiss, and they stayed like that for a while, just holding each other in the dark. Eventually, Victoria's breathing evened out and she fell asleep with her head on Noah's chest. He stayed awake a while longer, listening to her breathe, thinking about everything that had happened and everything that was still coming. Tomorrow, they'd meet with the lawyer. They'd start building their defense against Derek's threats. They'd figure out the next steps. But right now, in this moment, Victoria was here. She'd chosen him, chosen them, and that had to count for something. The alarm went off at 6. They got ready in silence, both too nervous to talk much. Noah made coffee. Victoria went over her notes from the HR meeting. They drove to Rachel's office in downtown, a sleek building that made Noah feel underdressed in his button-down and slacks. Rachel turned out to be a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She listened to their story without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When they finished, she sat back in her chair. "Okay," she said, "here's what we're looking at. Derek's lawyer is trying to scare you. That's standard practice. The assault claim is weak. You responded to verbal harassment, there were witnesses, and Derek suffered minimal injury. The civil suit is mostly bluster. Emotional distress is hard to prove, especially when he provoked the confrontation." Noah felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. "So you think we can fight this?" "I think we can absolutely fight this. But I need to be clear about something. Even if we win, this is going to be messy. There will be depositions, discovery. Your relationship will be examined in detail. Your employment history, everything." Victoria nodded. "We understand." "Do you? Because I've handled cases like this before, and they get ugly. Derek's lawyer will try to paint you as someone who used a relationship for professional gain. They'll question the timing of the transfer. They'll suggest impropriety even where there wasn't any." "Let them," Victoria said firmly. "We did everything by the book. We have documentation, we have witnesses, and we're not hiding." Rachel studied her for a moment, then she smiled slightly. "I like you. You've got spine. I've been dealing with difficult men in corporate America for 15 years. Derek Simmons doesn't scare me." "Good, because he shouldn't." Well, Rachel flipped through her notes. "Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to send a response to Derek's lawyer outlining our defense and making it very clear that we're not settling. I'm also going to formally request any documentation he claims to have regarding impropriety or policy violations. My guess is he doesn't have much beyond speculation." "And if he does?" Noah asked. "Then we address it. But I doubt he does. Men like Derek rely on intimidation because they don't actually have solid ground to stand on." "What about the criminal charges?" Victoria asked. "I'll coordinate with a criminal defense attorney I know. But honestly, I don't think Derek will file. It's expensive, time-consuming, and the DA's office is unlikely to prosecute a case where the alleged victim provoked the assault. He's using the threat to get you to settle the civil case." Noah felt like he could breathe for the first time in days. "So what do we do now?" "You wait. I'll send the response today. We should hear back within a week. In the meantime, document everything. Every interaction with Derek, every conversation with HR, everything. And don't talk to anyone from the company without running it by me first." They thanked Rachel and left the office feeling slightly less doomed. In the parking garage, Victoria turned to Noah. "That went better than I expected." "Yeah, it did. I still can't believe this is happening." "Me neither." They stood there for a moment, then Victoria said, "I'm scared." "I know. But I'm also, I don't know, relieved? Like at least now we're doing something instead of just waiting." Noah pulled her into a hug. "We're going to get through this." "Promise?" "Promise." They drove back to Noah's apartment, and for the first time in days, the future felt a little less terrifying. That afternoon, while Victoria was on her laptop sending emails to potential consulting clients, Noah got a call from Janet at HR. "Mr. Bennett, I wanted to update you on the status of your leave." Noah's heart rate spiked. "Okay." "We've reviewed all the statements and documentation, including Ms. Hale's testimony. We've also spoken with the witnesses who came forward regarding Mr. Simmons' comments. And we've determined that while your response was inappropriate, the provocation was significant. We're lifting your administrative leave effective immediately. However, you'll need to complete a workplace conduct seminar, and this incident will remain in your personnel file." Noah couldn't speak for a moment. "So I'm not fired?" "You're not fired. We expect you back on Monday." "Monday. Okay, thank you." "You're welcome. And Mr. Bennett, for what it's worth, Mr. Simmons has been placed on notice regarding his behavior. If there are any further incidents, we'll be taking more serious action." "I appreciate that." Janet hung up. Noah sat there holding his phone, feeling like the weight of the world had just lifted off his shoulders. Noah? Victoria looked up from her laptop. What happened? I'm cleared. I can go back to work Monday. Her face lit up. That's amazing. Yeah, it is. Victoria crossed the room and threw her arms around him. See? I told you it would work out. You were right. I usually am. Noah laughed and held her tight, and for the first time since this whole mess started, he let himself believe that maybe everything really was going to be okay. That night, they celebrated with pizza and a movie that Mia picked out when she got home from school. Something animated and chaotic that neither Noah nor Victoria really followed, but Mia loved every minute. Afterward, when Mia was in bed, Victoria said, I got a response from the tech startup. Yeah? They want to meet next week. Talk about a potential contract. That's great. It's different from what I'm used to. Smaller scale, more hands-on. But I think I might like it better. Noah smiled. You're going to be great at whatever you do. You don't know that. Yeah, I do. He pulled her onto the couch beside him. You're Victoria Hale. You don't know how to be anything less than great. She rested her head on his shoulder. I'm unemployed, Victoria Hale now. Temporarily unemployed. Soon to be successful consultant Victoria Hale. You're very optimistic about my career prospects. Someone has to be. Victoria laughed softly. Then she said, I'm glad I quit. Yeah? Yeah, I didn't realize how much I needed a reset until I actually did it. It's terrifying, but it's also freeing. Like I get to decide what comes next instead of just following the path someone else laid out. What do you want to come next? Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then she said, This. More of this. You and Mia and figuring out how to build something that's mine. Ours. Noah kissed the top of her head. Sounds perfect to me. They sat there in comfortable silence until Victoria's phone buzzed. She checked it, then showed Noah the screen. A text from Rachel. Sent the response to Derek's lawyer. Let's see what he does now. Here we go, Victoria said. Here we go, Noah agreed. Whatever happened next, they'd face it together. And that made all the difference. Derek's lawyer responded 3 days later. Rachel called Noah on Thursday afternoon while he was in the middle of a strategy meeting. He excused himself, stepped into an empty conference room, and answered. Tell me, he said. He's backing down. No criminal charges. No civil suit. He's dropping everything. Noah's knees went weak. He sat down hard in one of the conference chairs. You're serious? Completely. I sent over our response and the witness statements, and apparently that was enough. His lawyer sent back a very terse email saying his client has decided not to pursue the matter further. Just like that. Just like that. My guess is once Derek realized we actually had documentation and witnesses, he knew he didn't have a case. Men like him rely on people being too scared to fight back. You fought back. Noah let out a breath he felt like he'd been holding for a week. So it's over. It's over. You're clear. Rachel, I don't know how to thank you. You can start by paying my invoice when it arrives. Beyond that, just live your life and don't punch anyone else. Noah laughed despite himself. I'll do my best. Good. Take care of yourself, Mr. Bennett, and tell Victoria congratulations on the new job. New job? She didn't tell you? The tech startup offered her a contract this morning. She accepted about an hour ago. Noah felt a grin spreading across his face. She did? She did. You've got a good one there. Don't mess it up. I won't. They hung up, and Noah immediately called Victoria. She picked up on the first ring. Did Rachel call you? Yeah, Derek dropped everything. I know. She called me first. I was about to call you. And apparently you got a job? Victoria laughed. I got a consulting contract. It's not exactly a job. It's better than a job. It's your own thing. It is, isn't it? She sounded genuinely excited, more animated than he'd heard her in weeks. They want me to start next Monday. Build out their operational framework, develop their management structure. It's small scale, but Noah, they're actually doing something interesting. Not just moving money around, actually building something. That's amazing. I think so. I'm terrified, obviously, but also, I don't know. Ready? You're going to be incredible. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Noah glanced at the clock. 3:30. What are you doing right now? Sitting in a coffee shop pretending to work while actually having a minor panic attack about whether I know how to run a consulting business. Come to my office. What? Noah, you're at work. I know. Come anyway. We should celebrate. We can celebrate tonight. I want to celebrate now with you, in person. Please? There was a pause. Then Victoria said, Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Noah went back to his meeting, wrapped it up as quickly as he could, and was standing in the lobby when Victoria walked in. She looked uncertain, glancing around like she expected someone to stop her. Hey, Noah said. Hey. She stayed by the doors, not quite entering. Are you sure this is okay? It's fine. Come on. He led her to the elevators, and they rode up to the 4th floor together. A few people stared. A few whispered, but nobody said anything, and by the time they reached his desk, Noah realized he didn't care who was watching. This is weird, Victoria said, looking at his cubicle. Being here and not being here. You miss it? Not even a little bit. She smiled. Is that bad? That's honest. Marcus Chen appeared around the corner, saw them, and stopped. Hail! Didn't expect to see you here. Just visiting, Victoria said smoothly, congratulating Noah on the project lead position. Marcus's eyebrows went up. You heard about that? Word travels. Clearly, Marcus looked between them, and something that might have been approval crossed his face. Well, good. Bennett's doing solid work. We're lucky to have him. You are, Victoria agreed. After Marcus left, Noah turned to Victoria. You handled that well. I've had practice. She glanced around. Can we get out of here? This is bringing back memories I'm not particularly fond of. Yeah, let's go. They left the building and walked 2 blocks to a park Noah sometimes ate lunch in, found a bench under a tree and sat down, neither of them saying anything for a moment. Then Victoria said, I can't believe it's actually over. Me neither. Derek just gave up because he knew he'd lose. Still, I expected more of a fight. Noah took her hand. Maybe he realized we weren't worth the trouble. Or maybe his lawyer told him he was being an idiot. That too. They sat in comfortable silence, watching people walk by. A woman with a stroller, a guy on a skateboard, 2 teenagers sharing earbuds. I'm starting to think we might actually be okay, Victoria said quietly. Yeah? Yeah, you've got your job, I've got a contract. Derek's gone. We made it through the worst of it. We did. Victoria turned to face him. So what now? What do you mean? I mean, what do we do now? We've been in crisis mode for weeks, fighting to stay together, to keep our jobs, to survive. But now that we're through it, what comes next? Noah thought about it. I guess we just live, build something, together. That simple? Why does it need to be complicated? Victoria smiled. It doesn't, I suppose. So let's keep it simple. You take your consulting job, I do my project lead thing. We figure out our life together, one day at a time. One day at a time, Victoria repeated. I like that. They stayed in the park for another hour, just talking. About Victoria's new contract, about Noah's project, about whether they should look for a bigger apartment or if his place was enough for now. Normal things, mundane things, the kind of conversations that felt revolutionary after weeks of crisis. When Noah finally checked his phone, it was after 5. I should get Mia, he said. I'll come with you. They picked up Mia from after-school care together. She came running out when she saw them, backpack bouncing. Victoria, you're here. I'm here. Are you coming home with us? Victoria glanced at Noah, who nodded. Yeah, Bug. She's coming home with us. Good, because I need help with my science project and Daddy's terrible at science. Hey, Noah protested. It's true, Daddy. You thought photosynthesis was about cameras. That was one time and I was joking. Mia looked skeptical. Victoria was trying not to laugh. They went back to Noah's apartment and Mia immediately dragged Victoria to the kitchen table to show her the science project, something about plant growth that involved way too many charts for a second grader. Noah made dinner while listening to them debate the merits of different soil types, and he thought about how normal this felt. How right. A month ago, he'd been terrified. 2 months ago, he hadn't even known this was possible. But now, watching his daughter explain photosynthesis to his girlfriend who'd quit her job to be with him, Noah felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. After dinner, after Mia's bath, and the bedtime routine that Victoria was becoming increasingly involved in, Noah and Victoria sat on the couch with glasses of wine Noah had picked up on the way home. "She's getting attached to you," Noah said. "I'm getting attached to her." Victoria took a sip of wine. "Is that okay?" "More than okay. Just, if this doesn't work out, if we don't work out, it's going to hurt her. It's going to hurt me too. I know. I need to make sure you're sure about all of this, about us, about being part of her life." Victoria set down her wine glass and turned to face him fully. "Noah, I quit my job. I told off HR. I hired a lawyer and fought Derek Simmons. I'm starting a whole new career at 38 years old because I wanted to be with you. Do you really think that I'm not sure? I just had to ask." "I know, and I get it. You're protecting her. That's what good parents do." She took his hand. "But I'm not going anywhere. I'm in this. For the long haul. However long that is." "Forever?" "Yeah, forever." Noah kissed her, slow and sweet, and thought about how much had changed since that night she'd shown up at his door. The next few weeks settled into a rhythm that felt almost normal. Noah went back to work full-time, leading the restructuring project and discovering he actually enjoyed the strategic side of things. The increased responsibility came with increased stress, but also increased satisfaction. He was good at this, and people were starting to notice. Victoria threw herself into her consulting work with the kind of focus Noah recognized from their time working together. She'd set up a small office in the corner of his bedroom, just a desk and a laptop, but it was hers. Her meetings were on Zoom now instead of in conference rooms. Her hours were flexible, and she seemed genuinely happy. Mia started 3rd grade and decided she wanted to learn piano. Noah enrolled her in lessons and spent his evenings listening to increasingly less terrible renditions of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And slowly, carefully, they built a life together. It wasn't always smooth. They fought sometimes, usually about stupid things. Victoria had a tendency to work too much, and Noah had a tendency to shut down when he was stressed. They both had habits that annoyed each other. Victoria left coffee mugs everywhere. Noah never closed drawers all the way. But they worked through it, talked it out, figured it out. 2 months after Derek dropped the lawsuit, Noah came home to find Victoria on the couch looking at something on her laptop. "What's that?" he asked. "House listings." Noah set down his bag. "House listings?" "Yeah, I was thinking, your lease is up in 3 months. We could renew, or we could look at getting a place together. Something bigger." "You want to buy a house?" "I want us to buy a house." Victoria turned the laptop so he could see. "Something with a yard, a real kitchen, a room for Mia that's not right next to where we sleep." Noah sat down next to her looking at the listing. A 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but solid. Real. "This is a big step," he said. "I know." "You're sure?" "Are you going to ask me if I'm sure about every major decision for the rest of our lives?" "Probably." Victoria smiled. "Then yes, I'm sure. I want a home with you, not just an apartment. A home." Noah looked at the house on the screen, imagined Mia running around in that backyard, imagined weekend mornings in that kitchen, imagined growing old with Victoria in that master bedroom. "Okay," he said. "Okay, let's look at it. This weekend." Victoria's face lit up. "Really? Really?" They looked at the house on Saturday. It needed work. The kitchen was outdated, one of the bathrooms had questionable tile choices, and the backyard was mostly weeds. But it had good bones, and Mia loved it immediately. "I could have sleepovers here," she announced, running through the empty rooms. "You could," Victoria agreed, "and we could get a dog." "Let's start with the house," Noah said. "But eventually a dog. Eventually we can discuss a dog." Mia seemed satisfied with that answer and went back to exploring. Noah found Victoria standing in what would be their bedroom, looking out the window at the backyard. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking this is real. We're actually doing this." "Having second thoughts?" "No, just processing. 6 months ago I was eating dinner alone in my apartment every night. Now I'm looking at houses with you and your daughter. It's a lot of change. Noah came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. Good change? The best change. She leaned back against him. I didn't know I could have this. Have what? This. A family. A real life. I thought I'd traded that possibility away years ago for my career. You didn't trade anything away. You just hadn't found the right person yet. Victoria turned in his arms. And you're the right person? I'm going to do my best to be. She kissed him, soft and sure, and Noah thought about how far they'd come. They made an offer on the house that Monday. It was accepted by Wednesday. And suddenly they were homeowners, or at least they would be once the escrow closed. The whole process was terrifying and exciting and exhausting all at once. Inspections and appraisals and paperwork that never seemed to end. Victoria handled most of it with the same efficiency she'd brought to corporate restructuring, turning buying a house into a project with spreadsheets and timelines. You're very organized about this, Noah observed one night while she was color-coding a moving checklist. I like to know what's happening when. I can see that. Does it bother you? Not even a little. Actually, it's kind of hot. Victoria threw a pillow at him. You're ridiculous. So you keep saying. They moved in 8 weeks later on a Saturday in November. Emma showed up with her boyfriend and a truck. Marcus Chen somehow heard about it and showed up with lunch. Even Rachel, their lawyer, stopped by with a housewarming gift. By the time the sun set, they were surrounded by boxes and a house that was theirs, and Mia was already making plans for where her piano would go. I can't believe we did this, Victoria said that night, after Mia was asleep and they were sitting on the floor of their empty living room surrounded by unpacked boxes. We did. We bought a house. We did that too. Victoria looked around. It's going to be a lot of work. Painting, fixing things, making it ours. Yeah. And it's going to be expensive and time-consuming and probably frustrating. Probably. And I can't wait. Noah laughed. Me neither. They spent the next few weeks settling in, painting walls, hanging pictures, arguing over furniture placement. Mia helped enthusiastically, mostly by getting in the way and offering strong opinions about everything. Victoria's consulting business continued to grow. The tech startup loved her work and referred her to 2 other companies. She hired an assistant, a recent business school grad named Amy, who was sharp and eager and exactly what Victoria needed. Noah's project wrapped successfully, and he was offered a permanent position in strategic planning with a significant raise. He accepted, feeling like maybe he'd finally found where he was supposed to be. And through it all, they kept building, kept learning, kept figuring out how to be together. 3 months after moving into the house, Noah woke up early on a Saturday to find Victoria already awake beside him, staring at the ceiling. You okay? He asked. I've been thinking. About? Us. This. Everything. Noah's stomach clenched. That sounds ominous. It's not. I want to make sure we're on the same page about something. Okay? Victoria turned to face him. I love you. I love Mia. I love this life we're building, and I want to make it official. Noah's brain stuttered. Official how? I want to marry you. The words hung in the air between them. You want to marry me, Noah repeated. Yes. I know it's fast. I know we've only been together less than a year, but I'm 38 years old, Noah. I know what I want, and I want this. I want you, forever. Noah stared at her. Are you proposing to me? I guess I am. That's very progressive of you. Is that a yes? I don't have a ring to give you. I don't need a ring. I need an answer. Noah cupped her face with both hands. Yes. Of course, yes. Victoria's eyes filled. Yeah? Yeah, I want to marry you too. I was just waiting for the right time to ask. When were you planning to ask? I don't know. Christmas, maybe? I was going to get a ring and make it romantic. This is romantic. We're in bed at 6 in the morning. You're proposing in your pajamas. And it's perfect. Victoria kissed him. So we're doing this? We're doing this. When? Whenever you want. Victoria smiled. How about spring? Small wedding. Just family and close friends. Sounds perfect. They told Mia over breakfast. She took the news by asking if she could be the flower girl, and if this meant she could finally get a dog. "One thing at a time, Bug," Noah said. "But you're getting married. That's a big thing. A dog is a small thing." "Dogs are not small things." "Some dogs are literally small things, Daddy." Victoria was laughing so hard she had tears in her eyes. They set a date for April. Sent out invitations to a small group, Emma and her boyfriend, a few of Noah's friends from work, Victoria's college roommate who she'd stayed close with, Rachel the lawyer, Marcus Chen, and his wife. No big ceremony, no fuss, just them, making a promise in front of the people who mattered. The morning of the wedding, Noah woke up nervous. Emma found him pacing in the kitchen 2 hours before the ceremony. "You okay?" she asked. "I'm getting married." "I know. I was there when you sent the invitations." "What if I mess this up?" "Noah, you bought a house with her. You've been living together for months. You're already doing the marriage thing. This is just making it official." "I know, but nothing. You love her. She loves you. Mia loves her. This is the easiest decision you've ever made." Emma put her hands on his shoulders. "Stop overthinking and go get married." Noah took a deep breath. "Okay. Okay? Okay. I'm good. Good. Now go get dressed before Victoria thinks you've backed out." The ceremony was in the backyard of their house, under a small arch that Emma had helped decorate. 25 people in folding chairs on the lawn. Nothing fancy, nothing elaborate, just real. Noah stood at the front and watched Victoria walk toward him in a simple white dress, holding a bouquet of flowers Mia had insisted on picking out. She looked beautiful and nervous and absolutely certain all at once. When she reached him, she whispered, "Still sure?" Never been more sure of anything. The ceremony was short. They'd written their own vows, kept them simple. Promises about honesty and partnership and choosing each other every day. About building a life together, whatever that looked like. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Noah pulled Victoria close and kissed her like it was the first time and the 1,000th time all at once. Mia cheered, everyone clapped, and Noah felt like every hard moment, every fight, every scared decision had led to this. The reception was in their living room, which was too small for 25 people, but they made it work. Food from their favorite Italian restaurant. Music from a playlist Victoria had spent 2 weeks perfecting. Dancing in a space meant for furniture. At one point, Noah found himself in the kitchen with Emma. "So," she said, "married life. How's it feel?" "Exactly the same as yesterday, but also completely different." Emma smiled. "That's weirdly accurate. You'll find out eventually." "Is that your way of saying you approve of my boyfriend?" "I'm saying he makes you happy. That's all that matters." "Look at you being all mature and wise." "Marriage does that to you, apparently." Emma hugged him. "I'm proud of you, you know." "For what?" "For fighting for this. For not giving up when it got hard. For building something real." Noah's throat tightened. "Thanks, Em. Now go dance with your wife before she thinks you've abandoned her." Noah found Victoria in the living room, talking to Marcus and his wife about consulting work. He took her hand. "Dance with me?" She smiled. "Always." They swayed in the middle of their too small living room while their friends and family watched, and Noah thought about the night she'd shown up at his door. How impossible this had all seemed. How certain he'd been that they'd never make it work. He'd been so wrong. "What are you thinking about?" Victoria asked. "How lucky I am." "That's very sappy." "I'm allowed to be sappy. I just got married." Victoria laughed and rested her head on his shoulder. "I love you." "I love you too." They danced until the song ended, then kept dancing through the next one, and the one after that. Later that night, after everyone had left and Mia was asleep upstairs, and the house was finally quiet, Noah and Victoria sat on their back porch. "We did it," Victoria said. "We really did. No more crisis, no more fighting to prove we're allowed to be together. Just us." "Is that enough?" Victoria looked at him. "It's everything." Noah pulled her close, and they sat there in the dark, listening to the sounds of their neighborhood settling for the night. A year ago, Noah had been a single dad working a job that was fine, but not fulfilling. Eating dinner alone most nights, convinced this was as good as it got. Now he was married to a woman who'd walked away from her entire career to be with him. living in a house they owned together, raising his daughter with someone who loved her like she was her own. It wasn't perfect. They still had fights and stress and moments where everything felt like too much. Victoria still worked too much sometimes. Noah still struggled with letting people in. Mia still hadn't given up on the dog campaign, but it was real and honest, and theirs. "Hey," Victoria said, breaking the silence. "Yeah? Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me, for fighting for us, for making me believe I could have this." Noah kissed her temple. "Thank you for knocking on my door. Best decision I ever made. Second best. What's the first?" "Marrying me." Victoria laughed. "You're ridiculous." "So you keep saying, Mrs. Bennet." "I like the sound of that." "Me too." They sat there until late, just being together, and Noah thought about all the choices that had led them here, the risks, the fears, the moments of absolute terror that this would all fall apart. But they'd made it. Through the gossip and the lawsuits and the career changes and the doubt. They'd chosen each other, over and over again, until choosing each other became the easiest thing in the world. And that Noah realized was what love actually looked like. Not the fairy tale, not the perfect story, just two imperfect people who decided they were better together than apart, who fought for each other when it would have been easier to walk away, who built something real out of a midnight knock on a door and a moment of terrified honesty. "Come on," Noah said, standing and offering Victoria his hand. "Let's go to bed. Our bed. In our house. That we own together." "As a married couple." Noah smiled. "As a married couple." They went inside, locked the doors, and climbed the stairs to their bedroom. Tomorrow they'd wake up and start their new life as husband and wife. There would be work and responsibilities and probably another conversation about the dog. But tonight, they were just Noah and Victoria. Together. Finally. Completely. Honestly together. And that was more than enough. It was everything.